Hello, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of our 5-day challenge. I hope that you had lots of fun yesterday having conversations about your values and what your kids want to be good at this year, and that has sparked some really good conversations. I just want to focus a little bit on the why of all of that, and the link between our values and our behaviour. So you've probably seen this kind of diagram before, where um, our core values and beliefs shape our attitude and shape our behaviours. And focusing on those values is really important, because that should be where our starting point is. But very often, as parents, if you're anything like me, we often fall foul of focusing on the behaviour and commenting on that rather than the values and the beliefs. And I don't know about you, but for me, that tends to not go very, very well. And also, the circle can work the other way too, can't it? So, our behaviours, if we do them again and again and again, can change our attitudes and values and beliefs about ourselves or the world. And so, very often with kids, if they are constantly hearing messages about their behaviour, then that can lead to changes in attitudes, and that can help, lead to them believing that they're not good at that thing, or they they really are lazy. So if a child is constantly called out for what seems to be like lazy behavior, for example, I don't believe that anybody is lazy. I think that there are a million reasons why somebody hasn't done their that work, or behaved in a particular way. And if they're constantly called out about that, then eventually they're going to believe that they really are lazy, and then that cycle perpetuates. And so it's important to go back to those values and to think about those. And also, like as I've written on that slide, starting with values as a discussion point is so much more effective. So the most effective conversations that I've had with my own children is not when I focus on the behavior, but when I help them to refocus on the values. And I say something like, hey, you remember when you said that you wanted to be good at blah, blah, blah? How are you doing with that right now? Do you think that your current behaviors are helping you towards that goal? And starting with the values has always been a whole lot more successful. So that's one of the reasons that we did that yesterday, is so that you can kind of focus on those values, and you can come back to those later on. But what we're going to be looking at today is changing those values into actions. So, what we're going to do today is be focusing on, well, what does a good mathematician do? What does a risk taker do? What does whatever the goal was? And we're going to be thinking about, well, what actions, habits, and goals um, do you do you think could help you to achieve that value in your life? So, like, one of the things that I said yesterday was that one of my kids said, well, I really want to be a good cook. And so that has sparked conversations around, okay, so, well, what does a good cook look like in everyday life? And, what habits do you need to form to become a good cook? And like, what kind of goals do you need? And we've had some really interesting conversations, and thought about all the kind of goals, and really thought quite big, and it's been quite exciting to think about those kind of things. Now, at this stage, this is where sometimes parents, if you're anything like me, can sometimes get it wrong, because I know in the past I've been just waiting for my child to say, well, this is my value and this is what I want, and then pounced on it and said, right, now that you've admitted that this is your value and that's what you want to live by, I'm going to tell you all the ways that you can achieve that goal. And you need to do this, this, and this. And if your children are anything like mine, they'll either roll their eyes at you, or agree and then do nothing, or if they're feeling feisty, they'll fight back. And that doesn't really work, right? So, in this activity, we really need to show vulnerability and build connection, and we need to model that language of goal setting ourselves. Because really, change happens from the inside out. Um, and we're less likely to respond to a do to attitude than a do with. So we need to use questions instead of imperatives, and we need to model that language of vulnerability and how to set goals. So imagine if you said at dinner time or when you were with your kids, in that conversation about values, I said that I really wanted to live a healthy lifestyle, and that was an important value of mine. But I can see that I haven't been doing that recently. So I think I'm going to go for a run later. Imagine how powerful that would be. You're admitting that sometimes you deviate from your goals. You show what reflection looks like, and you're modeling how to change action. How could you help your kids to do that if you model that behavior too? So today, our key question is going to be, well, what actions are you going to take? So the things that I've got in my toolbox when I'm having conversations with my children are the questions. So what's your plan and what are you going to do about that? And asking those questions instead of giving statements is really powerful, because you're giving them agency and you're helping them to develop those decision making skills too. So today's task is all about turning those values that we looked at yesterday into actions, habits, and goals. And with that, you can start with that question, well, what does a good mathematician look like? What does a good friend look like? What does a risk taker look like? And there are some resources to help you to explore those questions. And again, you can explore those for yourself and also for your children. And also, I want you to note down those responses so that you can come back to those later on in your conversations with your children. And also, just share them in the Facebook group. It's a really great way of being accountable. And also, it just kind of makes things a little bit more concrete when you put things out there in the world. So note down those responses and share them in the group. And with today's task, I really want you to have loads of fun with it and keep the conversation going. So, like I said, in my house, all those conversations around, I want to be a good cook has turned into, well, maybe my goal could be I'm going to invite my grandparents for Christmas dinner. And so now we've been researching all of these recipes and thinking about, well, when could we try that out together? And it's been so much fun. So in all of those plans, research opportunities together, so that they can develop those values and skills. Um, Offer help, connect them with other people and other organizations that can help them to develop that goal, that whatever. And set goals, because that gives them a chance for something to work towards. So that could be, oh, well, you've said that you want to be a good friend. So how about in a month from now, we invite new students to a welcome party? Or you said that you want to be a good mathematician. Are there any competitions that you could get involved in? You said that you wanted to be a good leader. What kind of leadership roles are available for you this year that would help you to develop those skills? You said that you want to be a risk taker. What's something that scares you that you could do this year? Okay, that was actually one of my New Year's resolutions a few years ago, to become a risk taker. And so once a month, I wrote a list of things that scared me, and once a month I would do them, and it that led to all kinds of growth in me as a person. So like, you could have so much fun with this. So um that's what I want you to focus on today, is to think about, okay, how can we turn those values into actions? and let's dream and plan and research and put together some ideas of what that's going to look like. Okay. And this will really give life to your children. That it's not all just about, okay, we need to make our desks are clean and tidy and we need to be organized. Those things are coming. We're going to do those things in some of the next few days. But actually doing this is the thing that's going to come back. They're going to come back to when they're feeling really stressed or when things aren't going so well, because you're talking about things that are really, really important to them. And so this is a good way to start, because there are tons of opportunities for them to practice executive function skills in all of this. It will definitely deepen your relationship with your children, and it will also help them to develop in the values that are really important to them. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes out of today. Please do share on our Facebook group and get in touch if you have any questions. I'll see you tomorrow.